G'day everyone. Did you like my new opening graphic? Mr. Liberty has put that together for me. I'm so grateful. It buys me time to get all my streams working. As usual, Instagram has been a pain again, but it's working now. So hello, g'day, happy Thirsty Thursday. Cheers. I'm on chilled red South Australian vino for Thirsty Thursday. So cheers to all who celebrate. Nearly the end of the week. It's been another big week for me, so I thought I'd do a live stream to update everyone. As usual, a lot's been going on. I know today, if you're in WA, it was ballot draw day. Yes, they drew the ballots for where candidates would be on the tickets for the election on the 8th of March. So sorry, I'll spurg out a little bit about politics at the start of my show. But yes, so they've drawn the positions on the ballot paper for all the candidates. The upper house is the one that everyone's mostly interested in, of course, because there are a lot of minor parties contesting this election. It is the easiest state now in Australia to get elected in the upper house. I think it's 2.3% that you need to get to be elected there. And of course, that will come down to preferences too. So very exciting. If you've seen the ballot draw, Liberal and the Christians and the Nationals are up very high on the ticket. And my mates in Shooters and Fishers Farmers Party, I think they're number 2. I'm just trying to remember. I only saw it briefly just before I jumped in here to talk to you. So we'll see. We'll see. It does make an effect. I know when I ran for the Senate in 2022, I was in the middle of the ticket. I was L for Lady Liberty. So it didn't really do me any favours being on such a big ticket, and the ticket in the upper house in WA is quite a big one this time as well. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, it does affect the results. So a lot of minor parties tonight who will have a lot more work ahead of them because of the ballot draw, and my heart goes out to you because it does make things all that much harder, and it already is a very tight race there. So sorry, I'll stop spurging out about ballot papers now. But hello, I'm Kate Fantinel, or Lady Liberty. If you're just joining me the first time, I've been doing these live streams for quite a few weeks now. I've been quite vocal and involved in advocacy, especially for firearm owners in Australia for a long time now. And Lady Liberty, that's what I am about. Liberty for everyone. So Mr. Liberty is shaking his head. I hope I don't have any technical issues. We seem to have some troubles with the technology. I swear it's not us. I swear sometimes I get hacked by the state who doesn't like what I'm saying, which did happen last week when I was recording a podcast for Hunters Connection podcast. Not Hunters Connection, Hunters Campfire. I can't keep up with myself. So if you're watching, please leave a comment, ask any questions you like. I do have a few things that I need to get through tonight. Firstly, just to say tomorrow is Valentine's Day. If you haven't made any plans yet, or if you've forgotten, just a gentle reminder. A great date idea, if you're still looking for one, is to take your date to the gun range. I took Mr. Liberty to a gun range in America, in Nashville, Tennessee. It was his first time going to a gun range and shooting a gun. Well, it wasn't really a gun range. It was one of my mates' house just outside Nashville, Tennessee, and he had about 300 guns in his house. He wasn't quite sure. It was just walking in and they were lying on the couch just everywhere, all unarmed, of course. But, yeah, a great date idea, going to the range. If you want to buy a Valentine's Day present for your significant other, your girlfriend, I do have a Don't Tread on Me special merch product on my website, ladyliberty.com.au, if you want to have a look there. I did tweet about it this week. I sent a gift to my dear friend Forrest Mummy in America, in Colorado. So she's tweeted about that if you want to see what I'm talking about. This is a PG show, so I'm not going to go into too many details. But yes, happy Thirsty Thursday. Thanks for joining me. Bit of a late minute stream that I put together because I do have some important updates, some disappointing updates, some things I didn't want to have happen, but such is life. And the first thing that I have to talk about is my Firearms Forum Town Hall, which was scheduled for the 27th of February, so later this month in WA, ahead of the election. I had done all the work to get 6 candidates from the parties contesting the election in Upper House to speak at that event. It was a lot of work to get them to commit. Obviously, firearms is a sensitive issue in Australia, especially in WA, with what's happening there. So I thought the best kind of event for shooters and hunters and farmers as well, and anyone interested in liberty, which firearms to me are a beacon of liberty. I thought it was the least I could do now that I'm not running in that election. I'm still thinking about it, of course. Obviously, I can't run now, but I think it's one of those things that I'll always look back on and just wish and think what could have been if everything was on my side. But of course, I had a lot of people on my own side against me, so I was not in a position to run, and I'm deeply sorry about that. But I thought the best thing I could do outside of running for office is to put on an event so that the shooters, the hunters, the farmers, anyone can come in to a private venue, have a few beers, and ask the questions to the candidates themselves and have me as the moderator. So I was working very hard on that event. That's what I've been spending a lot of my time on. I've been involved in a lot of meetings with a shooting organisation in WA who's been doing some work on their political plan, because obviously the gun laws is something that we just cannot live with. So we need to do everything we can to change that and to change the shape of the parliament. I'm on the record and I still firmly believe, unfortunately, that Labor will get back in, even if it is a reduced majority, which I sincerely hope it will be. I mean, any reduction would be better than what we have now, where they control both houses of parliament. It's a one-party state in terms of what they can do, passing legislation in a day. Some of the other members of the House don't even get to read it before it goes to a vote. That's the kind of thing that's been happening in Western Australia since 2021, that big election where the red wave and the popularity of Premier Mark McGowan just changed the whole culture of my home state. And yes, it's my home state. I cannot wait to be back on the 24th of February. So I'm still coming back. But unfortunately, I have had to cancel my Firearms Forum Town Hall event. I did not want this to happen. I've done so much work already for free, always for free. But the situation was basically the venue wasn't comfortable holding an event of that nature. I think they were thought it was going to be a lot smaller. Perhaps they didn't think I could get all those high-profile candidates that I did. I'm not too sure. I understand that it is a risk when you, as a venue, or an organisation, if you hold an event that goes against the state, right, and it goes against sensitive issues like gun laws, you are going to put yourself in a position where you are against what's going on and you're taking a stand for something. That's something that I'm very used to. I will never shy away from what I believe in and what I stand for. I try not to be offensive with it, but I'm not going to shy away from a fight just because I'm scared of something or scared of repercussions. And I understand that not everyone is in a position to do that. And when it comes to the fact that your venue or your organisation receives funding from the state government and you are holding, or you might be holding, an event that directly goes against what the government's law is, you are putting yourself at risk. And that's the reality. That's the reality of not just shooting organisations in Australia, but some of the ranges too. Some of the ranges in Australia are on state government land. Like, we lease the land from the state government to hold our ranges at, which means when it comes to election time, you cannot be political because you are putting your lease of your range at risk. Similar thing with venues who are a bit unsure about holding a political event. They see it as a risk because they receive funding from the state government for whatever it may be, maintenance, air conditioning, you name it. So now you take that into account, and your organizations or your venue or your rangers are put in a position where you cannot use your right to political opinion anymore, because it will come back and bite you. You will lose funding, you will lose a seat at the table. And that's what I've had to deal with. I know it seems obscene in a way. It's a town hall, it's an election, it's candidates running for office, it's part of the democratic process to have voters in a room talking about an issue that affects them. And in this case, it's firearms, which in WA affects 90,000 people, along with all the farmers, along with all of the family who's had to be the ear to listen to us be so upset. You cannot gather in a place to hear from the candidates because of the risk that it puts on whoever you want to choose, the venue, the organizations who were going to support it but started to back away. Even the candidates, I know a lot of them, because I have relationships with them and they know who I am, and I've gone to their events and I've made the effort as an individual, not as an organization, not as someone looking for anything except to hear what they stand for. They were going to come along, and Nick Gorian, I tip my hat to him because he was going against his own party leader, Libby Mettam, who has publicly said that she would not revoke the gun laws if Liberal win at the election. So he was coming along to talk about what he wants to do when it comes to the firearms laws. So I'm devastated. I'm devastated that once again I've tried my absolute hardest to put on something, to deliver something for shooters with the support of a shooting organisation, when the support wasn't coming back to me the way that it was made out that it would. I will always sit down at the table when someone calls me and asks me for help with an issue when it comes to shooting and hunting. Those are my two passions, and those are the biggest grievances I have with the government in Australia, both federal and all the states and territories. And I know it's a minor issue. I have other issues too, but this is something I'm very passionate about as a shooter, as a hunter, as a child of someone who grew up learning how to shoot and hunt. It's my skill, it's my culture. I want to protect this so the next generation of Australians can learn these skills and be able to participate in our sport if they wish to. That's why I'm so passionate. So when it gets to the point where I cannot do what I'm trying to do because my own people are once again putting barriers in front of me that are just too high to jump over, or I cannot, the support doesn't translate into doing more than just patting me on the back and saying you're doing a great job, which I do appreciate, but it does get to a point where it does demoralize you. And when I had this emergency meeting on Tuesday morning, I think it was, to tell me that there were risks involved with the event, it just resulted in the whole thing falling over, despite everything that I'd done in my own time for free to pull this together. So I'm sorry. I have refunded those who were coming to the event. You should be getting a refund. I actioned that today. I've spoken and talked to all the candidates about what happened, and they're disappointed too. They were really looking forward to fronting up, which good on them. That's what you should do as a candidate. Come and talk about something that I know is a sensitive issue or controversial issue. It shouldn't be, but it is. So I've spoken to them and emailed them. I can say that I'm going to be interviewing a lot of these candidates. I'm coming to Perth still on the 24th of February. That has not changed. Nothing can stop me getting to Perth. I swear I will be there on the 24th of February. So I've organised as a substitute the best I can do now that I don't have the support that I needed to get this event off the ground, including proper support to run a professional event in terms of funding, basically, because I've been organising this at my own expenses when I don't really have a lot of money coming in. I mean, I'm staying with my parents at the moment. Most people are aware of my situation. That's not a cry for sympathy. I'm just saying that that's how it is. But I am pleased to announce that I have booked in interviews with a lot of the candidates who were going to speak at that event. I do have Nick Gorian booked in for an interview, and his number 4, Phil Twiz, who is apparently a big shooter. I can't wait to meet him. I've never met him, but he's the real deal, I've been told. So I'll be interviewing them. Dr. Brian Walker from Legalized Cannabis Party, I'll be sitting down with him and his Secret Harbour candidate, Jim Matters, who I spoke to today. So I'm still going to be bringing you their views. I've talked to my mates at Shooters and Fishers Farmers Party, and they're definitely keen to organise something while I'm in town. And it has to be basically, I've already booked 2 interviews in for the 25th. I land 24th at night, and I'm booked in for 2 interviews Tuesday so far, because it's pre-poll. Pre-poll would have already started in WA. So I will be bringing you those interviews and the information and their views, because that was the whole point of the town hall, was what do you think about the gun laws and what are you going to do if you're elected? So I'll still be getting that information to shooters in the only way that I can, and that's by myself as an individual going out and doing that without having to once again be disappointed and let down by the organisations who seem to get in the way instead of giving me a leg up. So that's where we're at with the Firearms Forum Town Hall. I apologise again. I was quite upset Tuesday when I heard the news that it was not able to proceed without a lot of compromise and changes and things that just don't align with what I believe in. I'm the kind of person that once I've set my mind to something and I know what I can do to deliver the best event for people, which is what it should be. That's what voters deserve. That's what you deserve. That's what shooters deserve. Quite frankly, I'm not going to start negotiating away and taking on risks for venues and having that all put on me when all I'm trying to do is help my people. So that's where we're at. Sorry, that's my first rant for the evening. If you are in the chat, please put any questions or comments. I'll just have to turn my little phone back on because it's decided to turn off. I hate technology. Hi, Catherine, and thank you, Catherine, for emailing the Nationals about my event. You might have just joined the spiel now. I've had to cancel it because of issues with the venue and the organisation that was helping me put it together. So if you want to go back and watch this after, I explain in quite a bit of detail what happened. I'm glad you've got your refund. That's so good to know it was quick. Thank you for contacting the Nationals. I did contact them and invite their upper house candidate to come along and speak. That's what it was, an upper house number 1 candidate town hall event. And I did get a lot of number 1 candidates from other parties, but I never received any response from the Nationals. So I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they didn't want to come along. They have my number. They can call me anytime. So I'm not sure why they weren't going to be part of it, because they're meant to be the ones who are going to save shooters. So not sure what happened there. Shooter Down Under, g'day Lady Liberty. G'day Shooter Down Under. Welcome to the show again. One of my loyal followers. Good to see you. Happy Thursday. And if anyone's in the chat, please feel free to ask any questions. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, I'll just keep going. It's a quiet evening tonight. What's everybody doing a Thursday night? Obviously not sit in their dad's gun room and rant at the camera. Maybe I need to get a life. Catherine says, I've got competition tonight. Someone else is doing a stream. Okay, I'll keep that in mind for next time. Thursday nights. No, I was going to do it last night because I wanted to get this information out about the town hall as soon as possible, but I had to get in touch with the candidates first. So I've been on the phone a lot. So I just had to take that time to sort out the mess before I could tell everybody what was going on. So this is the earliest I could do it. Sorry, I won't do Thursdays again. I'll only do Wednesdays and Sundays, I promise. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and I know this is kind of old news, but I just wanted to talk about it because I received the FOI request that was sent in. If people remember, I remember back in 2022, I think it was, losing track of the years, when Premier Mark McGowan, Police Minister Paul Papalia, and the acting police commissioner at the time, Inspector Walker, Ken Walker, went out to the Pinjar range in WA and shot that 50 cal. And the reason that they did that was to announce the gun confiscation of long-range precision rifles. So I'm not sure if everybody remembers that, but if you Google it, it's still there. They haven't wiped that from the news yet. So I remember it, and it later came out that the 50 cal that they purchased with taxpayers' money at a cost of $8,500 to us was used to announce that. So just thinking of the mentality of a government that is announcing that the people can no longer own high-powered velocity firearms, as they called it. They used a 50 cal to demonstrate their point, which I find quite twisted, but that's WA politics for you, quite an accurate representation. And the FOI request that I've been sent through this week has gone into details, basically outlining that the stunt was not a good idea in the eyes of the range where it was held, which was near a military base. There was an active military base with airspace there that they had to shut down so that the Premier and the Police Minister and the acting Inspector Walker could do their little stunt. So that FOI has been sent to me, and it's just full of things saying that it's a bad idea, that it shouldn't be done, that the range is not designed for 50 cal. It's not long enough. Please don't do it. And they went ahead and did it anyway. So all this information has come out, and there has still been no accountability. We have still not heard from an apology, an explanation of why they thought it was a good idea to use our money to buy a firearm that we can no longer even use, let alone we couldn't own 50 cals anyway. It's just that just goes to show the mentality of the government. And I was reading through the FOI request today. So it extends past the Pinjar Range perimeter fence, which is a high risk to members of the public. Extremely unsafe is another thing that came out of it. Pose serious risk to property and persons. As a serving member of the ADF, this weapons officer cannot support an activity which contravenes reference A, which is the drawing of the map, which shows that it is unsafe. They even gave the Lancelin training area would have been safer, so they gave all this advice to the police ahead of their stunt, which was on in 2022. And they still went ahead with it anyway. I mean, the mind just boggles. And these are the same people who are lecturing us and telling us that we're no longer considered safe to own firearms because they picked an arbitrary number, 5 or 10, depending on what you use firearms for. They picked an arbitrary number to put on us, but they are allowed to operate above the law. This is a situation in WA. And if you haven't heard that story before, if you're tuning in from another state and you weren't aware of that, I mean, just imagine your Premier, your Police Minister, your Inspector doing that. It's just obscene. It really does make you wonder what goes on in these people's heads. Shooter Down Under, I haven't forgotten about that. If anyone else did that they would have been arrested. Yeah. That's right. The fact that they had to shut down the airspace for the military so the Premier could go and stand next to a 50 cal looking tough to make the point that the citizens can no longer wear firearms that we think are too high powered velocity. yeah, I'm still thinking about that too. I'm sorry to bring it up if it's triggered anyone, but I thought because I only have just read through the FOI today, I thought it was a relevant one to bring up. Catherine, didn't I copy you on the email from the national candidate? Yes, you did. I didn't see if they'd responded. I saw they responded asking questions, but I didn't know if they'd confirmed. But I can't. The event's being cancelled now anyway. So, Shooter Down Under, has anyone else tried to get you to do an interview? Do you mean any other candidates have asked to come on my show, or anyone wants me to be on their show? Because I am on a lot of podcasts. I have been invited on a Australian podcast tonight. I think it's live streaming shortly. I said I'd jump on if I could. So I do get a lot of requests. I get some American requests too, which is good, to go and chat to my American mates. They're always horrified to hear what's happening in Australia, I'll have to say, especially after the last few weeks, especially with the free speech stuff that's gone on in the Australian Parliament. I know that's been very topical for people who are following federal politics, which I still keep an eye on. But my focus at the moment is more on local issues, especially WA. I think we can't all be fighting every battle on every angle. So I know there's a lot of people doing good work in federal politics to try and combat what's going on there, but that's a whole other beast, which will need taming. And I can only fight one battle or two battles at a time. The other thing I wanted to update people on, because I am still in South Australia, still at home where I was born. It's so relaxing to be here. It has been very hot. It was 47 yesterday. Couldn't even go outside. It was that bad, but I am still home in South Australia until the 24th of February before I'm coming home to WA. There is stuff happening in South Oz too, so I do get a lot of messages and contacts from people in the shooting and hunting world who tell me what's going on in their part of the world. So I'm very grateful for everyone who wants to share information, because then it gives me the opportunity to share it with others so we know what's going on across our country. And it seems like in South Australia at the moment there is a big focus on pistol ranges. Now, I'm a pistol shooter. That's my favourite thing to do with my dad, is go out to the range and shoot metallic silhouettes with my little 22 and his 357. So that's my thing. But it seems that there has been inspections of ranges around South Australia, and there's a focus on pistol ranges. And apparently there's a police inspector in there who's very keen on changing some of the requirements on the ranges. And one of those things he's looking at, for example, is increasing the height of the backstop behind the targets. And a figure that's been floated around is 6 metre high backstops, which is, as high as a house. Not everyone can afford to do those upgrades to ranges. And once again, they're probably asking the state government for funding, and we'll see how that goes. And that puts you in a position where you cannot be politically active or vocal against the state if you're accepting funding from them for things. And this is a story that I keep seeing over and over again. So I'm very concerned about what's happening in my birth state of South Australia, particularly when my dad is the one who got me into pistols to begin with. And that's one of our activities that we enjoy together still to this day. So there is stuff happening in South Australia which should be concerning to shooters. And this is something that I warned about as well, seeing what happened in WA with how involved the police were with writing the new laws and regulations in Western Australia. The police are meant to enforce the laws, and the governments are the ones who write the laws. That's how it's meant to be. Separation of powers, if you will. And that's just not what's happening anymore, it seems to me. And I've seen this over the years, including back when I worked at SSAA National. I saw a trend in more involvement from the police when it came to writing legislation and regulation. They should be one voice at the table, one group that the government consults with. They should not be risen above the people as the kind of the priestess, if you will, while we are the parishioners and they're the ones whose word is gospel. Sorry if you're not Catholic and not following my analogy, but that's the best I could think of at this time. But it's not right that the police have such control and power over what the laws are and what they want. And they can get around things. It doesn't have to be legislated. They can get around things by issuing documents that say these are the new requirements for rangers because we've done our inspections and this is what we believe should be the code for every pistol range. And then what do? You're put in a position as the president of the range, as someone who shoots at the range, where you're given this new list of things that you have to comply with, written by the police, not legislated by government. The minister probably doesn't even know, or it's a memo on his desk in a pile this high of all the other stuff he has to deal with. And the people who have, there's been no incidents involving handguns at ranges in South Australia that I can think of for as long as I've lived here. That proves that it's a risk. But this is what the police are now saying. They are now saying that they are going to put requirements on pistol ranges in South Australia. That's what everyone is anticipating. That's what I've heard. That's what I've been told. And it will just make it harder and harder for especially small pistol clubs to be able to afford to pay that. And that's when you get into the cycle again. Just looking at the comments. Brad Chalk. Hi, Brad. I remember you. He was one of our candidates at the election back in the day when we were the Liberal Democrats, the glory days. How are you going? You had twins? I'm back on the 24th of February. We'll have to catch up. And he said, and WA, our local rangers have been shut down for months. That's another thing that I've been aware of. That the Waypol went around and shut down range. They shut down my pistol club in Belmont, Lone Rangers. So they shut that down because they were concerned about the emissions of lead that was going into the area, which is an industrial area in Belmont. And they used that as an excuse to shut down the range. They did the same. I think it was Downrange was shut down as well. But so many ranges have been shut down in WA because of the police coming in and doing inspections. And then, yeah, I hope that the ranges will be opening soon because we have mandatory shoots to do, especially for a pistol shooter. And I think the new laws also say rifle, shotgun who shoot competitively have to do a minimum number of shoots. I was talking to my lawyer about that the other day. So that's another thing we'll be looking at, which gets me onto my legal action challenge. Yes, I'm still pushing away at that. Sorry if I sound like a broken record, but that is my main focus at the moment. I have already organised to meet with my lawyers when I'm back in Perth. It's going to be a very busy few weeks while I'm there. Hopefully I can stay as long as possible, if not forever. We'll see what the future holds. That I've organised to meet with my lawyers, and they are concerned about the minimum number of shoots that you have to do to keep your firearms as well. So we're looking at that. I haven't raised enough yet to pay them. So putting myself in a precarious situation because lawyers don't work for free, and especially King's counsels don't work for free. So I'm still pushing ahead with that fundraiser. I still have not received one donation from any shooting organisation in WA. And that was after being promised support for it. So that's why I'm at the point now, if someone says they support me, I thank you, but what do you mean by that? And I'm not saying just money. I'm saying what can you do outside of just giving me a pat on the back to actually help me, because it's a big battle. Like I've said in the past, I've sacrificed my professional career because of my Senate campaign. That's where it all went downhill for me. I didn't really get back on my feet professionally after that. I was unemployable in WA unless I deleted my social media account because I'm too much of a critic of the state. So, yeah, that's the point that I'm at now. And I need all the help I can get because I'm one person, not supported by any organisation, business, anything. I'm just one person. Yeah, Shooter Down Under said mandatory shots for long arms used to be just for New South. Sadly, it's been exported to WA, and that's what they do. That's the other thing. And Aussie Reviews has said this repeatedly too. This is what they do. They implement a law in one state, and then that the governments in other states think that that's justification to bring that into your state. So we already saw in the news the other week about mandatory gun limits put on all Australians. That's what the anti-gun group is pushing for. And that came out of WA, and that's why I've launched my legal action. And that is one of the things we will be looking at, the arbitrary limits on the number of private property that lawful firearm owners who have passed the fit and proper person test, of which have been expanded in WA, including the health checks, which Catherine, I still have to put up for you so you can look at this form. My dad nearly fell over when he read it. So this is what they do. They implement it in one jurisdiction, copy and paste it into another. The bow hunting ban here in South Oz, where I am, they've been talking about doing that in Victoria too. This is what they do. They will just keep banning, over-regulating to the point where no Australian anywhere in our beautiful country can continue to participate in our traditions of hunting, our sportsmanship of shooting. We're the best shooters in the world at the Olympics and Paralympics. Even the Americans said that. They said they don't understand how it's such a part of your culture and you're so talented at it, why that you haven't had any issues, why it's so restricted. And this is what governments do. This is their agenda. And it's so clear in WA that that is their agenda. And they've publicly said that at the start of all of this back in 2022. Their goal was to reduce the number of legally held firearms in the community. That was a statement from our government. Is that what the people want? At what point did the public stand up and say, we have a problem with people owning too many guns? The problem has never been people own too many guns, because that's not a problem. The problem is when criminals get a hold of guns, which usually come from the black market, imported overseas. Our borders, customs, I think I remember reading a report, can only check 10% of the things that come into Australia, the shipping containers. So New Zealand has the same problem too. We're islands. This is a problem we face. The black market guns. People in the community have a problem with criminals using guns, not the person who goes to the range on Sunday, not the person who goes out hunting food for the table, not the person who helps the farmer with pest control because he's got 1,000 other things to do on a farm. I grew up in a farming family, so I know sometimes going out spotlighting is the last thing that farmers want to do at the end of a long day when you've been up since bloody 4 o'clock. People in the community never asked for a reduction in the number of lawfully held firearms. And if they did, I would love to see the focus groups where that came out. I think the focus groups was Labor's ideology and then pushing it on the people. And that's what I have a problem with when it comes to firearms in Australia. I have a huge problem with governments changing our culture because of their ideology when they are no longer listening or serving the people, and they did not listen in WA during the consultation process at all. It was bogus, and that's one thing that the candidates I've spoken to, every candidate I've spoken to who I'll be interviewing when I'm in Perth, has pointed out that they think the consultation about these laws does not stack up. It is not democracy. You cannot have a government put out papers and say, what do you think about this? And then the next week, because it was a very short timeline for that consultation period, put out the same laws unchanged. That is not consultation. That is you dictating to the people what the laws will be because you've already written them. You want to pretend that you're listening, and you'll have meetings with people that you choose from organisations that don't represent the people either. They represent their own interests and protecting their own turf, and that's how it's going to be. That's not how it should be in Australia. We are losing our country before our very eyes, and I'm seeing this from a firearms perspective because I've been involved in this fight for such a long time. I'm seeing it. Now we're seeing it transferred into other issues. Free speech is a huge thing. They are not listening to the people. They actually want to shut us down from saying things. Political expression now, you can't express yourself. That is something that is in our constitution, that we do have a right to political freedom. Not anymore. this is something I'm so terrified about, the future of my country. And that's why I'm coming back to WA, because I want to be on the ground for this important election. I feel like it'll be, I know I've said that what I think the result will be, but the upper house, I keep banging on about the upper house, but that's where you can really have balance of power and have people on our side who see it from our side, who see that it's not good governance and that people are hurting and it's not helping the people and it's not what we want. I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that whoever's elected in the upper house will align with advancing liberty and not trampling all over our liberties, because that's what's happened in WA since 2021. I lived there from 2020 to 2024. I remember what it was like during the pandemic. I remember how I felt at the time. And I'm also, when I'm back, I'm going to be catching up with my dear friend, Alan DeArgent. He's got a horrific, devastating story that I hope he will sit down with me and share with you, because that just shows the lack of compassion that this government has had for people and how their decisions have affected the lives of families and the lives of people. That's another thing that I'll be doing when I'm home. And he's a great karaoke singer, so I'll be going out and singing karaoke with him to cheer ourselves up. But his story is one of the people from WA that I want to talk to bring to you. And I've spoken about her. I've spoken and posted about his daughter Robin in the past, and I don't know why I'm thinking about her now, but it just, all this talk about WA has got me reflecting on the time that I spent there and what it was like. And I really want WA. It's the greatest state in Australia. It's honestly, I cannot wait to be back, but I am terrified about the future of what it looks like for people depending on who they vote at the election. So I think I've been ranting long enough. I'm just going to do a short show tonight because I just wanted to get out my message about the Firearms Forum Town Hall. That's been the main thing I've been working on this week. Sorry again to those who have booked a ticket to come along. I'm disappointed it can't get off the ground. I feel like I've been saying I'm disappointed a lot. And the common denominator I've realised is that I can no longer volunteer my time to work with any shooting organisation in Australia because of the culture of these associations, because of the fact that we're in a corrupt system where too many organisations and people are reliant on the government to protect their organisations, to fund their organisations, to fund their rangers, to fund the maintenance. When you put yourself in a position when you're reliant on the state to continue your activities, which comes at a cost of your voice and your political expression, this is very dangerous territory. And I feel sorry for those who have put themselves in the position. And that's why I have been very, very careful about who I associate with. And I'm not going to take money from anyone who will use me as a puppet or use me to shut me up in any way. And even though it's at my own detriment financially and I'm not in the best position, I admit that. But at the end of the day, I can look myself in the mirror and say I am fighting for liberty and I'm not beholden to any organisation, any political party, anyone at all except myself and my values. And that's a position that no money can buy. So I've got a question here I will answer. Shooter Down Under, what are your thoughts on the National Party de-endorsing one of their candidates? I did see this. I saw that he'd put up a photo of him in front of an animal that he'd hunted. I couldn't get into the story because I refused to pay for a subscription to the Wank Australian newspaper. I wouldn't even use that rag as toilet paper. Mr. Liberty's laughing, but sorry, I'm just saying it how it is because they did a hit piece on me when I ran for the Senate. I'll have to show Mr. Liberty that later, but I still have it. They did a hit piece of me. Gun right, loony, far right. Kate Fantinel sounds like Kate Fentanyl. Her policies sound just as, I can't even remember what they said, loopy. Yeah, it was just, I still have the printout, so I have no time in the world for that that excuse for a rag. It is a propaganda machine anyway. I've seen some of the coverage in it and the hit pieces on bloody Basil's and Parlis. I'm not giving him any props, but he does cop it a bit from them, so I do empathise because I've copped it too. This is the thing. So I only saw the picture of that candidate, and he was posing in front of. He was on a hunting trip, so I'm not sure why they disendorsed him. If Shooter Down Under, if you read the story, please let me know. But if they disendorsed him because of like photos like that came out when they're meant to be the party for shooters and hunters, it doesn't really add up to me. I nearly got it disendorsed for my Senate campaign because I was talking about guns, and some people in the Liberal Democrats didn't feel comfortable talking about guns. You can't be a libertarian if you're not pro 2A. Sorry, just have to say it. Catherine said, I'm so sorry that the event is going ahead. I'm sorry too. I did cry. I cried in the meeting about it, actually. Sometimes it just gets too much and I don't even have the energy to argue, so I just cry. I'm a very passionate, emotional person. Maybe you could interview Bill Cole, national candidate for Victon, which includes where the shooting club is on North Lake Road. Great, because I haven't got any national candidate lined up to interview, and I would love to talk to someone. So, Catherine, I'll email you back and I'll see if he's willing. You should also keep in mind, everyone, and I keep this in mind too, that members who are running for political parties or candidates running for political parties, they often have to get approval to speak with anyone about any issue. So I'll try, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Nationals have a policy on not talking to me because SSAWA are funding a lot of their campaign and they don't want to be associated with me. So that's just the world we live in. There's always, egos get in the way of results, and I don't have any time for egos. I'm a results person, and if you get in my way of a result, I'll just have to do it alone, even if that means the hardest way possible. I'll still keep trying. You cannot bury me. So John said, I expressed my concerns about the consultation process, the map that got released to the public of where to find houses with firearms, to my local Labor MP, and he fobbed me off. That's what they do, and Labor are very, very smart. I'll have to give that to them because they went through and saw there was no Privacy Act in WA. Obviously, they haven't legislated one in this term of government either when they could have, and they knew it wouldn't breach any federal laws, so they could legally dox us and provide that list to the newspaper, who are complicit in that and published it and colour-coded the dots for pistol, rifle, shotgun. It was horrifying. I still remember that Sunday when I went to my local newsagent and around the corner from where I was living and saw that front cover, and I nearly had a bloody heart attack. I just thought, what the hell is going on here? And people were honestly terrified about break-ins because it was a shopping list for criminals. I mean, you just released our addresses and very quickly some technology these days, right? Someone put the map up online, reverse engineered it. Next minute, they have the literal addresses of where we lived. Can you imagine? When I called my dad and said that, he was horrified, and he said, isn't your government over there all about public safety? Because remember, this was just coming out of the pandemic, and we'd heard for so long, public safety, everything is about public safety. The same people preaching about public safety literally put our safety and public safety at risk by doxing us and publishing our addresses on where firearms are stored all across the state. That's the mentality of the WA government. And if you're not from WA and you're hearing this for the first time, yep, that's what we've had to put up with. John, good on you for contacting your Labor MP. Perhaps he's a one-seat wonder who got in during the red wave, and he won't be there next time. I hope so, for your sake, if he's not even going to listen to your concerns and you're a constituent. How arrogant of them to not think that they serve the people. This is where we're at in Australia. Politicians do not serve the people or the interests of the people. They serve themselves, the interests of their party, the interests of their factions, the interests of their donors. That's what democracy looks like in Australia in 2025, and it's not the country that I want my children to grow up in, and it's not the country that we should expect to live in after everything we've done and our forefathers who fought for our freedoms in Gallipoli, our Anzacs. I always think about that. They would be horrified to see that they went overseas and fought these wars, and I'm anti-war to the core, despise war in any form. And they went and did that for what? So our nation could become a nation where we're serfs. Our premiers are the fiefs of the fiefdoms. Like, no. Oh, Shooter Down Under, they say that he was a conspiracy theorist regarding Port Arthur and an extremist who compared gun control to the actions of a German dictatorship. Their words, not mine, but someone sounds like someone to vote. Oh, okay, the Nationals guy that got disendorsed was a conspiracy theorist regarding Port Arthur and an extremist who compared gun control to the actions of a German dictatorship. That was his words. The interesting thing, and I am a history buff, so I'm going to spurg out a bit. The Germans in World War II, they actually armed their people, but they took away firearms from minority groups, specifically the Jews. They were one of the groups that were disarmed. So the Germans actually armed their populace because obviously they were planning on sending them to war. And then they disarmed groups of society that they wanted to discriminate against. That's what they did. And the Port Arthur conspiracy, there is a doco coming out at the moment. I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen it. It's getting a big traction on X looking at this. And the problem I have with what happened in Port Arthur is that there was no inquiry, and now all the documents have been sealed for 75 years, and only the police commissioner of Tassie can look at the documents. So I'm all about transparent government. I believe that the people should know what their government is doing, and I believe that the people have a right to information about what's happened in their society, particularly when it comes to things that affect all of us. I remember Port Arthur, I remember 1996 because of the reaction of my dad and seeing him, this pleasant teacher, great father, always there for me, educated me so much, would come into my room when I was sick and look after me, read me stories at night, teach his 3 children how to shoot. I remember his reaction when he had to hand back firearms because of the actions of that madman in Tassie. I remember that so clearly. That's probably why I'm so passionate about this fight today. My problem with Port Arthur is that I believe it should be transparent about what happened there. We should see the documents. Stop hiding them. You brought in laws, by you I mean Howard and Tim Fisher, who's Liberal and Nationals. Remember, this is where it all started. It was the Liberal Party under John Howard and the National Party under Tim Fisher who brought in these laws back in 1996 that were also already in draft form. They had been already written, and they were the event. They seized on the opportunity of this devastating event in Port Arthur. I've been there. I've been to Port Arthur, and you get this eerie feeling like something evil did happen there. And I remember walking around just thinking of those poor people and what they went through. But I don't have the information. I've never been able to read through. I've read books on Martin Bryan. There's a book, Born or Bred, and if you haven't read it yet, Born or Bred, it's a red cover. I remember that goes into his life, how he got those firearms to begin with, how the police he was on their radar because he was a bit of a sketchy character in Tassie. That book is really great to read about him, but I want to read a book from the officers who were there. I want to read about the evidence, the testimonies from the people who survived. I want to read about that. I want to read the government's report. I want to read everything. As a journalist, that's what I want to do. Give me the information. I'll use critical thought and I'll come to my own conclusion. We are not given that opportunity in Australia. And as soon as you say something like this Nationals bloke candidate who's been disendorsed probably did, just saying he's got his own conspiracy. And remember, one man's conspiracy theory is another man's truth. And we've seen so many conspiracy theories, especially the past few years, actually be the reality. And it's just governments covering things up again and again and again, which is why I come back to the point. Governments are meant to serve the people. You have to be transparent about things. If you want to change laws that affect all of us because of one person, which is what happened in this instant, you need to justify that, and you need to be honest with us, because you serve us. You are not there to trample all over our liberties because you have your own ideology and you have your own agenda. So that's my 2 cents on the issue. I have actually made it to an hour. Yay. So glad. I was going to do a shorter stream tonight, but I always seem to get carried away. It's in my nature. Thank you to everyone for joining me tonight. I know it's been a bit of a smaller audience show. I know there's Thursday nights, yes, very busy night for podcasts, but I had to get this out about the Firearms Forum Town Hall. Yes, it is cancelled. Yes, I'm devastated, but I will be interviewing as many candidates as I can when I'm on the ground in Perth at the end of this month, not long to go. I'm so excited. 11 days to go. I'm counting down the days till I'm back in WA. And I did get a call today. I spoke to Jim Manners from Legalised Cannabis Party. I'd said I would help him, anyone who's running against Police Minister Paul Papalia, which I cannot do, but I'm still, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be entertainment? Wouldn't that be what we need? Someone holding these people to account instead of shying away to protect our grants. I would have just gone in there and gone full fascism versus liberty. That was my campaign slogan. But Jim Manners, I'll be campaigning with him on the ground in Secret Harbour. I'll post details of where I'll be. I'll be out and about. I'll be at candidate events. I've said, who wants me to hand out how to vote cards, anything I can do to help. And if you are in WA and you want to get involved, because it is the most important election of our lifetime, all elections are, please have a look who's running in your area, who you can support. If you want my advice, if you want to send me who's running, I can give you some inside information if I know any about the candidates, so you can get out. And something that you can do, we're not just talking about election day, it's Saturday, the 8th of March, which is also my sister's birthday. So I'll be celebrating with her. Can't wait to see her again. If you're free, pre-poll starts on the 24th of February, the day I arrive. So you can do a few hours at pre-poll after work in the morning, whenever suits you. That really helps candidates. Having people, Labor will have those booths covered from 8 till 6. They are a war machine and they are ready to go. They'll have their commie guys in red shirts running around all over the place. I hope they don't use their electorate staff. They did get in trouble for that last time. So if you're a Labor plant watching this, I feel sorry for you, because you have to listen to me when you don't agree with me. But hello, please don't be the red shirt scandal. We saw that in Victoria and you got in trouble for that. So just a hot tip, be careful this time. But if you're a shooter or a hunter or someone passionate about liberty and you just want change and you want to get involved, have a look who's running in your electorate. Send me the candidates. I'll let you know if I think any of them are worth supporting, or lead you in the right direction. And the upper house is where we can really make a difference. So if you haven't decided by now, if you're supporting shooters and fishers, legalised cannabis, the Liberal Party, the Nationals, One Nation, the Libertarian Party, if you're still undecided, have a read through their policy documents. I'll be doing interviews with most of them too, so you can have more information. But do what you can to get involved in the political process. You have to try, right? So thank you for joining me. I will be back on Sunday at my usual time. I won't be surprising anyone with a Thursday live stream ever again. Lesson learned, but I had to get this info out about the town hall. So thank you for joining me. Have a great Thirsty Thursday. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow to all those who celebrate. And I'll see you Sunday night at the same time, same place. Thank you.